Brighten up those already bright mornings. Wheeler, Ollie, and Lecter. Mornings at the Cabin.
Mornings at the Cabin, indeed. And it is bright enough. Thank you, Jill. Today's sponsor is The Knack. That's right. It's actually today.
Yeah.
Today's sponsor is The Knack, presenting Carmen Braden's live stream performance coming up on Saturday. And guess what? We'll have Carmen Braden in the studio at around 8 o'clock. And we'll ask her all the tough questions.
I thought for
like,
sure.
Who are you and what are you doing here?
Do your research, Wheeler.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to trip all over that liner this morning. Because it was the actual
right?
day,
No,
right?
I thought of it. I really gave it some thought. Always happy to have the Knack as our sponsor. Love working with them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Big live stream performance. Carmen Braden's first ever live stream performance. Or first ever live stream performance at the Knack stage.
Right.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Going to be accompanied by Andrea Betker, Pat Braden, and Al B. So some heavy hitters there as well. I mean, sit on your couch. Don't even have to leave your house.
Is it the first live stream that anyone's done at the Knack?
At the Knack. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, okay.
That's what my thing says.
Gotcha.
That's what the copy says.
AJ wrote that.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that time I called Dr. Tammy Candola Tammy Candola?
I
and
do.
Didn't call her a doctor? That was because of my notes.
She hasn't been back since.
She has not been back since. And I do not blame her.
And now refers to you as Yessie.
Yessie, that guy.
Wheeler.
That was before the pandemic, though, people.
That's right.
It didn't happen during the pandemic.
And heard her name every day.
That's right. So Carmen Braden come out of 8. The rest of the show is also going to happen.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast.
Wheeler Lecture with you on your Wednesday morning. That's right. It's hump day. You know what that means? We're going to talk in Australian accents. We have a kind of a long-running joke with AJ because he is from Australia and he's hidden his Australian accent very, very well. And we have gotten so good at our Australian accents. You know, oh, yeah.
Hello.
You know? I mean, it's like there's an Australian sitting right here with us. And we were having a little fun off mic here, and AJ came in and said, listen, what you're doing is terrible. You're not even close. And I don't know what's up with him this morning.
It's terrible. It's offensive.
It's offensive.
It's irresponsible.
Exactly.
And you're jerks.
I mean, really, you know, it is what it is.
That is Mornings at the Cabin in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's right. So we wanted to kind of look at and kind of figure out where the accent came from. Mm-hmm. Now, I figured that it was because, like, AJ mentioned as he was leaving that, you know, it comes from colonialist times, or like when, you know, a bunch of convicts from Europe were sent to Australia and created an accent. And I thought maybe it was like a combination of that with the Aborigine languages kind of intermingling, and where did it intersect? Mm-hmm. And I looked it up, and the beginnings of the Australian accents, as told by, Kel Richards, an author with, I don't know if he's got an Australian English. He wrote the book, The Story of Australian English.
His name's Kel?
Kel.
That sounds pretty Australian.
Like Keenan and Kel
from
Good Burger.
Huh.
So according to Richards, the beginning of the Australian accent emerged following the arrival of European settlers in 1788, of course.
Yeah.
It emerged from a process called leveling down, because he had all these people who came here on 11 ships. This is terribly written. On 11 ships from different dialect areas, regional dialect areas from across England. They all spoke differently, and they used different words, and what they had to do in order to communicate with each other was to level their dialect variations down. After around 50 years after the colony was established, Richards said the English people arriving in Australia started to claim that Australians were speaking the purest English on earth. Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it?
So basically, yeah, it's a mashup of like some who, for example, came over and some pronounced it me-self.
Yeah.
Some pronounced it myself.
Myself.
They met in the middle with moiself.
Moiself. Yeah. And some of them were hello and hello. And then
they met in the middle.
It melted down into hello. So we do have AJ here to kind of maybe guide us through this historical lesson. This is just a snippet from an article on abc.net.au, so Australian ABC. I don't know, whatever. But I mean, it does sound, it leaves out a pretty large, piece of the puzzle. But it is always kind of the conceit of English historians that like, yeah, it's just a bunch of English people getting together, speaking English, and that's how it became a thing. Nobody else was involved.
Just a Brit being a Brit.
Brit being a Brit, in it. Just in another spot.
AJ, have you ever heard this, that Australian is the purest English on earth?
I've heard it from Australians.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, and it's always like it's always a white guy's version of history where it's just like, yeah, just a bunch of different dialects all came over here peacefully, and intermingled with the locals, and just kind of created their own little thing.
Figured it out themselves.
Yeah. Didn't need help from anybody.
Not at one point.
No. Not at all. So basically, what he says is that their accent, the Australian accent, is English with the dialect variations taken out. Which doesn't make a lot of sense because Australian is like a dialect filled with colloquialisms and all kinds of slang. Like there's Australian rhyming slang to go along with, say, like Cockney rhyming slang, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of Australian rhyming slang?
No.
Okay, great. Yeah. And he just said, in the early days, it happened real fast.
Well, because the slang is mostly just like words that have been shortened, right? That have been halved.
Yeah, and ironically, some of those words that have been shortened are actually more syllables than the original.
Right.
Do you have an example of that?
I don't.
Okay, great. But like, little things like calling McDonald's Macca's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suburbs in Australia are named after Aboriginal words.
Yes.
Like for instance, the school that I went to is in Indooroopilly.
Yeah.
Which is next to Toowong.
Yep.
And so things like that, like Indooroopilly is Indro.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heaven forbid you say the entire word.
Absolutely.
No,
it's kind of
it's
a very lazy language.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, there's something about the Brits and British colonies kind of, forgetting where they colonized and just kind of trying to
so many places.
Not remind people that, those things used to be here.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
It is nice.
It's a quirk.
That all those suburbs are named after
Yeah,
I don't know where that came from.
And is there a preponderance or a large majority of the suburbs are lived in by Aboriginal people?
Oh, no.
No. I didn't think so.
No.
That's pretty
Those are
par for the
very,
course. It's like,
very white
yeah,
suburbs.
but listen, let's just name all these suburbs after that thing. It's like a little tip of the cap to the people that we pushed out of these areas.
Very similar to Yellowknife.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Like Sambake and
Yeah,
It's
that's
okay.
absolutely right.
Trout Lake, things like that.
Well, some of those things have been like those have been spearheaded by indigenous peoples here, and like let's change these names,
Right?
We're getting them on the signs and other street names and things like that.
Yeah,
that's been coming up a lot lately. Like, where do we change these names to? Because there's a lot of names here that are older Yellowknife families. That's part of it. But then there's things like Franklin Avenue, where people are like, can we not call it that?
Yeah, I think that's my point. Like, they didn't name it Private School Ave. They named it Indooroopilly.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, that's good.
Super nice.
That's
Super
a
nice
start.
Little tip of the cap. Yeah. So that's where the Australian accent comes from. It's the purest English on earth.
Yeah.
Which, again, what is it with white people and things being pure? I don't understand.
Wow. Like cleanliness.
Yeah, it's next to godliness.
I wouldn't even give them that. Typically not a very clean group.
No,
A lot of barefoot going
I take
on.
that back entirely.
Yeah. No shoes, no shirt, no service does not exist in Australia.
That's right. Well, I mean, we need someone to... what were you talking about? Speaking different languages, speaking bear?
Oh, so of course there was the black bear sightings around Yellowknife Airport.
Yeah.
And Shannon had mentioned... Beautiful transition, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't have one. That's why I stared off into the middle distance for a second. I was like, how are we going to get through to this? What was that you were saying about speaking bear?
Shannon had commented on the story saying, I hope they're successful at deterring them before they get further into city limits. Anyone speak bear? Get the word out that YK is not a spectacular place to be if you're a bear.
That's right.
So,
we don't want them here.
Do you speak bear?
We don't want their kind here.
AJ?
No, I do not speak bear.
No. I used to. It's faded over the years.
Yeah, that's right. You need to really stay
Tends
on
to do
top
that,
of it.
right? And bears don't work together.
Hey, what's your language, dude? We're live.
That's the only thing I know in bear.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. It's the greatest swear word a bear can say.
The purest form of bear, just spoken right there.
That's right. Well,
From the heart.
and we should let people know. It's at cabinradio.ca that there were bears spotted around the Yellowknife Airport. Be careful if you're walking your pups out there. I mean, it's right near the sand pits, right near the the road coming from Cam Lake there.
Yeah.
The access road. So, I mean, a lot of dog walking going on around there. So
Not to mention the SPCA.
not to mention the SPCA.
It's right
that's
there.
probably why they're there. It's like, look, you smell all these delicious dogs.
And for the love of God, put your garbage in a garbage can, people. We cannot stress this enough.
Garbage in garbage can. That makes sense.
Cool. Up. Sorry. Did you want to say something?
That's fine. No, I was just going to introduce the next song before the news.
Okay, carry on.
All right.
Mornings at the Cabin, the podcast, where we cut out all the great music and you're left with the rest.
Joined by Ollie Williams once again for another segment we like to call Without Knowing Precisely What's Going On with Ollie Williams to give you some clarity on all that's confusing and confuserating here in the territory. What?
Now, we did this yesterday.
We did. There's another one.
Is this technically an emergency sitting?
It is.
Without knowing
It is.
precisely.
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
This is an emergency episode of Without Knowing Precisely What's Going On with Ollie Williams. Ollie, what's going on? 4 minutes at a sitting yesterday after Monday's 8.5 minutes?
No,
And
Monday was about 17.
17 minutes, cutting it down to 4. Tomorrow, we find out whether Knockleby will be
Today.
Oh, is that today? It is today.
It's Wednesday.
It is it?
Yeah.
Wow! Good stuff.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
That's exactly why I'm here.
Trying to make
Ollie,
sense of all
Ollie,
this.
without knowing precisely what's going on, what day is it?
Whatever you need help with, I'm here to provide.
By the way, this morning's at the Cabin brought to you by The Knack and Carmen Braden's live stream performance coming up on Saturday. Carmen will be joining us within about 20 minutes.
You
Ollie,
see, you got really good at that
I'm
now.
really good at that. Days of the week, not so much.
Okay.
There's only enough room in my brain.
One
for
step
so
at a
much.
time.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how the MLAs feel. So the reason that yesterday was only 4 minutes long is there's only enough room in their brains for one thing at a time.
Yes.
Because they've been sitting this week, this emergency sitting, for reasons of debating Katrina Knockaby's future.
Yeah.
But when you call an emergency sitting, you still have to go through all the usual agendas for each day.
Yeah.
So there's still the opportunity for ministers to make statements, for members to make statements, for there to be questions. But because they've only reconvened to talk about the Katrina Knockaby thing, what happens is the Speaker of the House ends up just reading out all the other items on the agenda and nothing happens because nobody's got anything prepared. So yesterday... So you remember on Monday, Katrina Knockaby said nay and kicked things down the road by 2 days.
That's right.
Which meant that yesterday nothing could happen because the debate can't happen until today.
Yeah.
So they basically had to read through the agenda, at which point nothing occurred. And they'd say, all right, thanks, let's come back tomorrow. And so if you tuned into it, at 1:34, the guy calls order, and everybody sits down, and that's the start of the meeting. And are there any minister statements? No. Are there any members' statements? No. Any questions? No. There was one tabled document. The housing minister, I think it was, or might have been the health minister, stood up and just tabled one document. In other words, one response that they'd been sort of asked to give on something else ages back. And they were like, yeah, we got this now. Here you go. Look, like, basically tossed that on the table.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
And then they had to read out this motion that basically closes the thing at the end of Thursday because you have to give 2 days' notice, of course, blah, blah, blah. So they read that out. That was Ryland Johnson speaking for like 30 seconds, which was the highlight, the meat of the affair.
Nice.
And then they adjourned it because that was the end of that. So it's about 4 minutes, 40 seconds. And then they ended it. Now, we think this
just
is...
short of 5.
Yeah, right?
We think this is probably...
Well, it's 5 that go into overtime.
Yeah.
Right? And nobody wants overtime.
No.
What's that?
You should wait for the shootout. So
Hate the shootout.
So we think this is a candidate for the shortest ever sitting at the legislature, but
Yes!
it may not be the shortest.
Oh.
Because in 1987, we don't have a duration on this, and of course there's no video
We didn't
from
have
then.
computers back then.
But we do have the written record of what took place.
Oh.
I think it was February the 19th, 1987. There was the opening prayer, which always happens,
Okay.
and then the roll call, and then an immediate adjournment, because virtually nobody was there.
What was going on?
And the following day,
Arctic Winter Games?
Tagat Curley, who was one of the ministers at the time,
Yeah.
and remember at this point, this covers the whole of the NWTM, what is now Nunavut.
That's right.
So Tagat's ready for Nunavut. But anyway, so he stood up the following day in the legislature with an apology because it turns out that most of the MLAs had been at a lunch that ran late.
Oh, my God.
And
a business lunch.
And so none of them were there
Yeah.
to start the session, which was then duly aborted. So we think this is basically the second most embarrassing.
That's right.
Sitting of the legislature.
An extended lunch at the Mackenzie Lounge.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I did want to ask you about no one asking questions, because everybody is up in arms about nobody asking questions and something. Now, was it because they weren't prepared or because they had to wait those 2 days to ask questions?
So Ryland Johnson addressed this a little bit. He's the Yellowknife North MLA. He put up...
fairly reasonably he addressed it.
Yeah, he and Niels Conger kind of got into this a little bit on Facebook. Niels Conger, of course, Yellowknife City Councillor. So they had separately had this little bit of a set to on Monday night.
Yeah.
Because the city is considering withdrawing firefighting services along the Ingram Trail.
Right.
Because it says it costs too much money to provide and it's outside the municipality, so it should be a GNWT thing.
Yeah.
So... on Monday night, Ryland was there because it's in his district, the Ingram Trail. He represents those people. He was in that city council meeting saying, well, actually, the city already provides this. It makes the most sense for the city to carry on providing this.
Yeah.
Niels Conger was saying, well, the city doesn't have the money. The GNWT underfunds us hugely. Like, either give us the money to do this or do it yourselves. So, there are legitimate aspects of both sides of that argument. So this then extended into Tuesday, and Niels basically tagged Ryland on Facebook and said, see, nobody asked any questions. Wouldn't today have been a good time to ask a question about this whole firefighting service on Ingram Trail thing? Yeah. Maybe ask the Macca minister, who would be in charge of that, whether there's any money.
Yeah.
And so there was this whole back and forth. The reason Ryland said that nobody asked any questions yesterday was that in order to ask those questions, you need the ministers to be prepped to give some sort of response. Otherwise, you're just going to get a bunch of, well, I don't know. Yeah.
People would literally stand up and be like, I'm not prepared to answer that question at this time.
Well, to give you an example, R.J. Simpson, right, is the Education, Culture and Employment Minister. He's just been given infrastructure as well, which is 600 staff in 22 divisions that he got last week. Yeah. So if you stand up right now and ask R.J. an infrastructure question, like let's ask him like a quite technical question about the demolition of J.H. Sissons, which is now his gig. Like, he's highly unlikely to be able to just answer that one off the cuff. He's going to his staff will have needed to have seen the question in advance, which is what usually happens. The MLAs give their questions in advance, and then we just get a bit of theatre, essentially, where they read out their questions and they provide the answers. So without that opportunity, you're just going to get a nothing answer. So Ryland was saying, well, we found out on Friday that we were going to start doing this thing this week. Yeah. We could have immediately started peppering the ministers with questions, but then all their staff would have had to work like 40-hour weekends just to be prepared for that to happen.
Right.
And then maybe we would have got something, but like, what's anybody going to get that's a useful answer over that Saturday and Sunday, whatever. So that's his explanation of why they didn't ask any questions yesterday, because it wouldn't have been fair to the ministers or their staff to actually get that stuff there in time. Reasonable. And again, there are two ways of looking at that. On the one hand, that is reasonable. On the other hand, there are a lot of things that need a lot of questions asking right now.
And they don't want to wait till October.
Like, the next chance is October. Yeah. Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's probably some stuff, I think some people think, that you could have asked. Yeah. And that it would have been reasonable to get people to do a bit of overtime on. But then you've got to liaise on that and sort of collaborate on that so that you don't have all 11 regular MLAs asking a ridiculously wide range of questions that nobody would have had time to prepare for.
There it is.
So what I got out of all this is that if Ryland had just not yammered on for 30 seconds, we could have set a new record.
That's right.
Here in Yellowknife.
Yeah, for futility for an MLA sitting.
Because I'm sure the opening prayer has had a couple lines removed since like 1987.
Probably.
You know.
Today, likely to be yes. Today, likely to be significantly longer. 1:30 p.m. starts today. We will almost certainly have some sort of debate on Katrina Knockelby's future. She's likely to speak as part of that. Each MLA gets up to 20 minutes. Wow. So if 19 of them go at it, that's going to be a long old show. Absolutely. So we will see.
So no records this afternoon.
But
there might be a record in the other direction.
Okay.
I mean, the stream from the ledge has become must-see TV over the past few months.
Well, it's funny because it's about as short as a Canadian Heritage Minute on some days.
Hey, remember that time we didn't show up? Canadian Heritage Minute. Thank you, Ollie, for another segment of Without Knowing Precisely What's Going On.
An emergency
sitting of Without Knowing Precisely What's Going On. I am sure we'll have another one tomorrow after all kinds of kerfuffle happens today.
Cabin Radio's morning show podcast. All the best chat, none of the embarrassing mistakes.
We were waiting for our guest to show up. It's fine. She's got a 4-month-old strapped to her chest. It's Carmen Braden joins us to talk a little bit about the live stream performance that's coming up on Saturday. Today's show brought to you by the Knack and that very performance. Carmen, welcome.
Thank you for waiting for me.
No problem. I was about to go on, but we were just like, you know what? Let's just do one more song.
Yeah.
As you walked in.
When you wrote our radio station's theme song,
Yeah, you
I
get
think
a lot
we
of
can
leeway.
allot a few more
I can get 5 minutes grace
Yeah.
because of the 4-year-old,
Right. That's
4-month-old.
It's the least we could do.
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, Carmen Braden wrote the theme song to the news and to basically our opening theme when we first launched. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not at the morning show. That's Grieg.
That's great. Yeah, that's right. Not on the morning show, but on the news, and you can hear it pretty much every day.
You hear it every day, and you probably don't realize.
That's right.
It's one of my favorite pieces I've ever written.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Aw.
Very cool. Very cool. So, I mean, obviously, a ton of adjustments here over the last few months. So, is this kind of this live stream performance, which is the first live stream performance on the Knack stage, coming up on Saturday? Is this kind of the culmination of a few months of frustration, or is this just kind of like a natural progression into like maybe what the new normal is?
I think more the second.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, more the second. I had already kind of planned to have a bit of a lighter March to July because of the new addition to the family. Mm-hmm. Cabin Radio, meet Fergus. Meet Cabin Radio.
Yeah.
And so, unlike a lot of other musicians who had like built up summer tours or album launches, I didn't have that derailed as much.
Okay, right.
I had some things canceled, of course, and a lot of plans for this coming year were also sidelined. But then it was really Knack who has championed a lot of local musicians this summer with different local performances because no one's able to travel really in or out without substantially affecting their day-to-day.
Of course.
They came up with this series, and this is part of it, and I was just more than happy to jump on board and get to play music for the first time in a long time.
Absolutely.
In front of an audience. Yeah.
Well, is there going to be a bit of an audience?
There's going to be a small in-person audience.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not open to the public.
No, fair enough.
Right.
Family and friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but the show that the audience sees in its entirety will be streamed online, and that's how locals, regionals, nationals, internationals get to see it. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. So, I mean, that's at knt.ca. You can get tickets for that. I mean, tickets being like you give them some money, they give you a link, I imagine, to...
No, not even. They're being so democratic about this. It's beautiful. They're just going to stream it live from their Facebook and YouTube pages, also connected to the WAMP page. I'll probably have a connection on my social media page. And no, you don't have to pre-register. You don't have to sign in.
Very nice.
It starts at 7:30, and then it should be available up afterwards as well. So if you happen to be out camping this weekend, you should be able to catch it again once the internet has it in its clutches.
Okay. Very nice.
So I don't know how far you want to pull the curtain back on this one.
That's right.
But is this actually? Are you going to be performing live on the stage, and in that moment we are seeing that on the live stream, or is this a recorded performance that then goes to a live stream?
We're using a bit of the magic of technology of this to prepare for any technical difficulties, especially given our internet connection in the north.
Right.
And so what we are doing is we are immediately pre-taping this.
Okay. Very
so
nice. Yeah.
very close to the actual time it goes live. We're performing it and recording it.
Okay.
And like the button hits record, but we do have a small amount of time in between to kind of buffer any major technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's about as fresh as it could be without being live and having to take on those risks of things going wrong and having and then having to deal with the delay, which in the online concert world is always hard to manage.
Yes.
It is. It's very hard to match, and it's very easy to kind of lose your audience very quickly when things like that start happening.
Yeah.
It takes you out of it very, very quickly.
I've been in the Knack Theater when there was a power outage during a concert,
Yeah.
and you have a captive audience. Everyone has to kind of clear out to be safe. And then, but power comes on within a few minutes, Yellowknife style.
Yeah.
We all troop back in. The show goes on. But if that were to happen during the online show, we would have to do a lot of things to reset. So this way, we're being as live as we can, to be as good as we can.
All right.
And when we're all watching our computers, there's too many other distractions.
That's right.
You can't risk that. If
I know. There's babies and dishes and dogs. There's Penny, the cabin radio dog.
That's right.
I mean, yeah.
She's always doing something cute.
Not to mention the actual distractions on the computer itself.
That's right.
I'll just check my email while they're down.
Yeah, you have Reddit going in one page.
Exactly. It's like
And cabin
go down
radio
a-
open in the other.
Go down a YouTube rabbit hole. It's like, wow, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an hour of original music. You
Yeah.
got some heavy hitters. You got Andrea Becker. You got Pat Braden, Al B. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect. Is this stuff that people have heard before, or is this all new stuff?
Oh, it's not all new. And
Okay.
I also want to throw a little happy birthday shout out to my Uncle Pat Braden.
Hey! Happy
Fergus.
birthday, Pat.
Fergus says happy
and
birthday,
Fergus says
too.
happy birthday as well.
There are some pieces that'll be from my first album, Ravens.
Nice.
Some tunes like Good Friends and Pretty Roads, Fall to Alaska, some of those kind of ones that I've had in my basket for a while and
Yep.
keep going back to, keep reinventing. A little bit from my newest album, which was quite impressionistic of kind of the light and the quality of light here in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some new ones. One of my favorites being a tribute to Bruno's Pizza.
Oh,
yes.
wow. Oh, very nice. What is that song called?
Hey, Bruno's.
Greasy Goodness, also another good title for that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So NACNT.ca, they got the full rundown, what's happening, when it's happening, who's involved. I noticed in the description for Pat Braden, when it mentions him, what he's playing, it says bass and Chapman stick.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what a Chapman stick is. So I looked it up, and it's kind of similar to a sitar.
It's easiest if you're if you can Google it, it'll help you. But if you're just picturing it right now, it's a bit of a combination between a guitar and a piano.
Okay.
So it's got 10 strings, like a stringed instrument, like a guitar, and it's on like this big wide piece of wood.
Right.
But instead of strumming the strings or plucking them, you actually tap them to the fretboard.
Aha.
Okay.
So it's like a piano in terms of like your finger movement, tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
But the sound that you get out of it is actually nothing like a guitar or a piano. It's this beautiful kind of ringing tone, and you can kind of fly bass, treble all the way over, two hands on it at once. It's amazing. And
Cool.
there's not many people who play it. It was invented in the 60s by some guy named Eric Chapman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pat picked up one of these when he was young and has gone through a number of them. And it's his. Whenever I think of Pat, this thing's always there too. So
Yeah.
I was
I'm
going to say
glad he's bringing
probably not the kind of thing you can just walk down to Fiddles and Sticks and pick up on sale or anything.
No,
like that,
I've seen I think all of 4 or 5 in my life, and 3
Yeah.
or 4 of those were Pat's.
And the other was in a museum. I think we've seen him play it a couple times. He whips it out pretty regularly.
It is pretty cool. If you're
the Chapman stick. Then.
yeah,
Yeah.
Easy.
recommend to check it out on the internet. Pat's version or just other Chapman sticky players.
Absolutely. I mean, it's we always look forward to hearing your new compositions. I mean, you got some great players on Saturday.
I do.
Very small crowd, but you can watch. Go to nacnt.ca. Okay, so
the online crowd is going to be massive. though.
massive.
Yeah.
We can't actually tell, which is one of the weird things about
That's right.
playing this. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you do it on Zoom, and you can just have everybody's face looking at you, projected onto a screen in the crowd.
I mean, we go through the same thing every morning.
That's right.
We can only assume that there are millions and
listeners.
millions of people listening.
That's
right
why
now,
we.
so
That's
you
why
know.
we were very careful with our words.
That's
and we
right.
Prep so very much.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's why you guys look into each other's eyes across the table here
Yeah. That's right.
so lovingly.
That's how we communicate.
That's the reason.
That's
At
the
least you know
right?
somebody's listening.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be up on the NAC Facebook page, their YouTube page, WOMP's Facebook page, possibly your Facebook page, which is just simply Carmen Braden on Facebook. You can go to carmenbraden.com for more information about Carmen's works, and also follow her on Instagram at Black Ice Sounds. There you go. Get all your Carmen Braden fix all over social media, and that promises to be a great show this Saturday. The first ever live stream concert from NAC. Probably won't be the last. Oh, it's also going to be on the Northwest Telecommunity TV channel.
Yep.
7:30 Mountain Standard Time on Saturday. So check it out there. It's going to be a great show. Carmen, thank you so much for joining us and bringing Ferguson, who has started his first nap of the day.
Yep. But I might go check your merch booth and find some
Let's get you a onesie.
onesies.
There you go.
For
Absolutely.
the baby. And do you have adult size onesies?
No.
Why not?
No. Well, we've been
Good
telling
question.
AJ for years to
Oh,
get
yeah.
those,
Yeah.
and he's just like, You know what? I don't think they'll sell.
I'll write a letter.
Thank you.
Please do.
Absolutely. Carmen, thanks again for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you both.
The Mornings at the Cabin podcast.
A little local flair for you. That's because we don't do that enough here. We don't talk about local stuff.
We try to avoid it.
We try to avoid it at all costs. If anything, we want to talk about what's trending on the internet. Because listen, all we want to do every day is ask you what kind of cereal you like and just have us fill our comment section with cereals. Right?
Fruit Loops.
Old school Fruit Loops or new school Fruit Loops?
New school.
New school?
Yeah.
With the natural flavors and colors?
Why would I limit myself?
Gross!
Orange and yellow.
They all look orange and yellow.
But then now there's green and blue and
there's always been
red
those,
and
but they used to be
purple.
artificially flavored and colored, and they were better.
No, they only had like 2 colors before.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? We were going to talk about something else. Now we're going to talk about how insane you are and how insane you sound by saying there was only 2 colors of Fruit Loops. These aren't Cheerios. There was multiple colors of Fruit Loops.
Well,
and then they went
now,
to the
yeah.
natural flavors and colors, and now there's like
I don't
everything's
care about
tin-
natural flavors, Jesse. I care about colors.
Okay. All right. But old Fruit Loops
I'm
had
gonna
like
Google it right
multiple
now.
colors.
Old Fruit Loops.
Purple, yellow, pink, red, blue.
These are all new.
Okay, well, while you're looking up that, we can give a shout out to Janet Pacey over at Signed. She posted this about last evening, around 8:00. And this is the post, as follows. Today, a very tall, thin, sweaty young guy walked in and asked me to print a Nazi flag for him. I said, nope, no way. He asked why. I said it was because it was against everything I believed in. He said, well, it's not against what I believe in. Still, nope, buddy. He was genuinely perplexed as to why I wouldn't do it. Then he gave me the finger and he walked out. I generally believe in the customer is always right, but absolutely not this time.
I think that's just how Nazis say have a nice day.
That's right. They give the finger to everything.
Yeah.
And
thank you for your service.
I mean, that's a great post by Janet. We love Janet here at Cabin Radio. She's done a lot of our stuff, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful lady. And what a great post. I mean, it could have been a lot different. I mean, I think if somebody came in here and was like, "You have any Cabin Radio stuff with a Nazi flag on it?" I'd probably just kick him in the chin. You know, we have freedom of expression here in Canada, but it is actually illegal to fly a Nazi flag in Canada. So there you go.
Janet going slightly more diplomatic than
Slightly
you on
more.
that one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even agree with her stance on the customer's always right. I take issue with that. But good for her. This is it's not totally surprising given the atmosphere around literally everything right now. It's disconcerting. It's a bit alarming that there's someone so brazen with their beliefs in Nazism or whatever
so
that they'll walk into
so
comfortable with it. They'll walk into a local establishment and be like, "Hey, can you put this on a T-shirt or a flag?" And that's the only thing I wish out of this. And this is me. This is my way of dealing with things. Lauren McGinnis, Unky Lauren, put it out there, and he said, "Thank you for doing it in this way. You know, like, sorry this happened." And I would have been. My comment wants to be more like, "Do you have any cam footage in the store, or if you had taken a picture of him, can you just put his picture everywhere, please? Because I want to know who these people are in this town." There's a whole thing about like you have the right to believe what you believe in.
Yeah.
When it gets to stuff like this, no. Sorry, I want to know who these people are, and I want them outed, and I want them either not living here or just shamed to a point where they actually have to change.
I also agree with that on very selfish grounds in that the description, tall, thin, sweaty man.
Could have been anybody.
I come a little too close to that.
Well, you're not that sweaty.
I'm not always sweaty.
No.
But I could be sweaty.
That's right.
Especially if I was to do something as brazen as that. I'd probably be a bit nervous. I'd probably be perspiring a little bit.
I don't think anyone's going to confuse you for a white supremacist.
Well, I hope not. But,
I would hope not either.
People get confused
That's
sometimes.
That's
so,
right. Just don't ever shave your head, please.
Okay.
Mel Leonard posted in the comment section, who works with Janet, at Signed. I would have taken his order, then printed a pride flag. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Another comment was suggested, it's like, yeah, it's $100 in advance, and it'll be ready when hell freezes over.
Oh.
Ooh, snap.
Yeah, but that happened once already. Remember the Eagles did that album together?
Yeah, that's right. And it became one of the biggest selling albums of all time.
Yeah.
And music hasn't fully recovered.
So then you gotta fill that order, unfortunately.
And then Janet later in the comments said that when they posted this, when she posted this, she was hoping to warn people about this creepy dude. The great thing is that Sean Crowell over at Can Arctic Graphics had warned her about him as well. So he'd gone to Can Arctic Graphics. He's probably gone to Staples as well. I wonder how Staples is going to handle that.
Has he ever tried Wish?
Yeah, have you ever tried just
Amazon?
doing yourself? Like, there's nothing worse than a lazy white supremacist. Like, you can't do an iron-on on your own flag, but
right?
Like, you need someone else to do your hate stuff for you? Come on, man. If anything, white supremacists should be some sort of, like they should have some sort of
learn to sew
work ethic. I mean, one of the big things about white supremacists is that all these other races are lazy and stupid, but you can't put a friggin' iron-on Nazi symbol on a flag. Come on, man.
Come on.
Jeez. Someone just run this guy over with a truck. Is that too much? That's too much. That's too much. I do want to know what this person looks like. I would like to know their name. I want to know if there's Nazis in my neighborhood. I really do. This isn't freedom. This isn't freedom of religion or anything like that, or freedom like of being a conservative versus a liberal or anything like that. This is a symbol of hate, an internationally recognized symbol of hate. It is illegal in a lot of places to even put it up or have it anywhere, including Canada. So yeah, that needs to be dealt with.
Controversial statement coming here.
Okay. Nazis
Cabin
are
Radio.
bad?
Not a fan of Nazis.
Oh, you know what?
I hesitated saying
right.
it,
You hesitated saying it because you don't want to take a position on things.
Yeah.
But Cabin Radio denounces Nazism.
Yeah, you got to take a tough stand.
Breaking
once
story.
in a while, right?
Breaking story. So, Janet, good on you
Yeah.
for standing up, obviously, for what you believe in. Good on Can Arctic Graphics for doing the same thing. Again, Staples, he's coming to see you at some point because you guys do this stuff too. There's going to be like a 14-year-old going like,
What?
I just have to check with my manager. Mr. Grayson, this guy wants to do a swastika.
To bring this all full circle,
Yikes.
I've got a picture of a 1960s box of Fruit Loops here.
Okay.
I see red.
That's 60s.
I see pink.
All right.
And I see yellow. I don't see any green. I don't see any blue.
90s Fruit Loops.
I'm not talking 90s.
This is my old school Fruit Loops.
No. That's not old school.
Yes, it is.
No. That's middle school.
That is okay. That's when I ate Fruit Loops. I apologize.
It's not all about
green,
you, Jesse,
yellow,
all right?
blue, red, purple. Boom, 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 boom.
So this was just we were talking about two different things.
Yeah, we really were. Here you are talking about Fruit Loops. I'm talking about the death of Nazism here in Yellowknife. Yeah, I mean, good on Janet. You handled it better than I would have. I would have used a lot more expletives and chin kicks. A lot of people don't think I could kick up to the chin. I can. I can do it.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to see it, but I kind of
You wouldn't want to see it. I got a lot of
I
momentum
kinda,
behind me.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I mean? So I'm going to give that post a like. And good on Janet. Good on Can Arctic Graphics. If anybody sees someone out there brandishing a Nazi symbol, please punch them in the face. I don't, and here at Cabin Radio, we don't advocate for violence, but that's not really violence. That's just,
Well, it is. Just, don't.
I mean, it is and it isn't.
Don't print Nazi flags.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the
Pretty
easy way to
simple
go
stuff.
here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Once again, controversial statement. Nazis are bad. Okay. That's going to do it for Mornings at the Cabin this morning. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Check out more from the show at cabinradio.ca and by following the Mornings at the Cabin Facebook page.